everyone, welcome back. Not to my YouTube channel, but to Ask IITians recordings right here. Okay, jokes apart, I'm really hoping that you guys learning a lot and making good use of your time. Apart from that, let's just get a look of what actually we are going to study today. We are going to continue with our chapter tissues, but we are going to continue with the connective tissue of the animal part, okay, of the animal body. In the previous session, we started animal tissues and we went ahead with the epithelial tissue. And I did tell you about the four different kind of tissues which are present in the animal body, right? So we have the animal tissues starting with the epithelial, we have the connective, we have the muscular, and we have the nervous tissue, okay? And if you want to know what that is, you might tune into the previous recording, or we can move ahead and learn into detail about these tissues in the next upcoming recordings. So yeah, so the topics that we will be covering today will be the connective tissue and the different types of connective tissue. As you see right here, we'll be doing the connective tissue, loose, dense, and we'll be doing the skeletal and blood. Okay, that is like the major part, and that is very important. Okay, so starting with what actually is the connective tissue, in the previous class, I did tell you about how connective tissue is something which supports and connects, right? Something which actually is supporting the entire body. For example, the skeletal system, the muscles, the skeletal system, the bones, and how it is connecting everything. We discussed about the tendons which connect bones to muscles. We discussed about the ligaments which connect bones to bones, and we discussed about the cartilages which are present in the entire body and are holding the organs at their places. So the organs are not just kind of gooping down and aggregating into one particular place. So we'll go by the keywords again, which connects the entire body, separates as in it basically compartmentalizes. This basically means dividing into the different categories, or let's say dividing into the different spaces. For example, if this is our body, I'm so sorry for this stupid diagram. I'm kidding. Okay. So our lungs are supposed to be here and the stomach is supposed to be here. Okay. So it'll keep these things into their places instead of letting them fall down or aggregate at one particular corner in the body. So it just kind of separates and makes the space or make the places. Okay. And apart from that, it supports all the other types of tissues in the body. Okay. Listen to this. If it wasn't for the connective tissue, the entire body wouldn't be forming like this. Okay, we won't have a proper structure onto a body. Rather, our body would be like amoeba. Okay, no regular shape, no defined shape, and we'll just like moving like this, which will be quite funny. Anyway, so connective tissue, they are all present and scattered throughout the entire body, and these are of multiple types, right? So what we are going to do right now with the connective tissue is, what am I going to tell? Okay, it basically is of two types. When it comes to the being scattered in the body, we have the loose connective tissue and we have the dense connective tissue. Okay, we'll discuss these in the details. Apart from that, it is basically of skeletal, like the another category is skeletal and the fluid connective tissue. These two are the major ones from which the questions are asked. These two basically account for the either MCQ questions in the Olympiads or go for the 1 mark question in the subjective exams. Okay. So that being said, we'll move forward to the types of connective tissue, the explanation that I've already done. We'll start with the animal connective tissue rather first, okay, the loose one. So as I told you, loose connective tissue are the ones, okay, listen to the keywords here. They are the ones which fill the spaces between skin and muscles. That means they are present and filling the space between my muscles of the hands and the skin. And in between them, all I have is the connective tissue, okay, that is holding everything together, and they're found under the epithelial tissue, that is the skin or different tissues which are present on the lining of the surfaces, and they wrap multiple organs wrap, as in they're present all around the organ and they're holding it into one place. And they're a part of the stroma of the organs, like kidney, livers, testes. Stroma is basically the making, okay? Making as in the internal part of the organ, okay? And they form the walls of the digestive tract. That is why our digestive tract is like really, really strong, and it keeps on, gurgling and mixing the food along with the digestive enzymes so that we get our food properly digested. Okay. Apart from that, bacha, we basically have the loose connective tissue containing a lot of mast cells, fibroblasts, macrophages, and leukocytes. Okay, and they basically will be responsible for filling the spaces. Okay, all they have to do is connect everything and fill the spaces. That is it. And for the names that I just took, they basically have the fibroblast. I'll tell each and every single thing's function. Mast cell, okay, macrophages, and leukocytes. Important thing about all of these is that when we are talking about the mast cells are responsible for secreting multiple chemicals into our body, multiple chemicals into our blood, which help in the coagulation of the blood, which act as the anti-inflammatory substances. Okay, and then we have the fibroblasts are the cells which secrete the fiber from themselves, so that the fibers can fill up the space and they can hold the different organs and skin together. And then we have the macrophages are like the big cells which go ahead and engulf the entire pathogen, which go ahead and eat the entire pathogen so that it could be killed. And then we have the leukocytes are basically the white blood cells of the WBCs, which go ahead and encounter the different kind of pathogens which are present, right? That is one thing. And you can note all of that down, or I'll note that down for you. Fibroblast, fiber formation so that our body could be held together. Mast cell, different chemicals which help in blood coagulation. Blood coagulation, what do you mean by blood coagulation? That basically means thickening of the blood whenever we get injury, and formation of the scab so that our blood from the veins doesn't flow out and we don't bleed to the death. Okay. And anti-inflammatory, which basically avoids the inflammation or swelling to a particular part. And then we have the macrophages go ahead with engulfing the pathogens, engulf the pathogens. And then we have the leukocytes, which basically are the WBCs. Okay, what are these? WBCs. And if you want to get ahead and go ahead and get a look at this particular, like look at the loose connective tissue, I have got an amazing diagram for you, which you won't be forgetting for at least this particular, at the end of this, till the end of this particular class, because that is the actual slide which we'll be looking at. Okay, so let me just get this diagram for you. Till then, you can start going through the terms, okay? And I'll start labeling everything for you as well, okay? So before we start the dense connective tissue, we're going to use this particular space, and there we go. Right. So this right here is the loose connective tissue. This is the actual slide, my loves, and it's very interesting, right? Because what you see right here, the thread-like structures, these are the fibers secreted by the fibroblast. And then we have the large structures which are called as the mast cells. Okay, as I told you, mast cells secrete different kind of chemicals. Okay, the kind of chemicals you ask could be histamine, could be serotonin. Okay, and they have the function of blood coagulation or anti-inflammation or making you happy. Fun fact, serotonin is also called as the happy hormone. And if you smile for more than, let's say, 2 minutes, your brain will be fooled into thinking that you're really, really happy, which you should be at all times. And it'll secrete a lot of serotonin and you'll be more healthy. Okay. And the space which you're staring right here into the circle, you see most of the fibers are crossing like this. Okay, crossing like this. And these crossing fibers, they are present at the fibroblast location. Okay, and then macrophages and leukocytes, they just kind of move along. Okay, they are not fixed. Macrophages and leukocytes are not fixed, they just move around. So that is about the loose connective tissue. And then we have the dense connective tissue. Okay. Now listen to me very carefully before we move on to the dense connective tissue. Fibroblast, I'm going to summarize everything. Okay. Fibroblast, these are irregular in shape and their major function is to produce a lot of fibers. Okay. And they basically are large. And then we have the mast cells. Mast cells secrete a number of chemicals such as the histamine, which is basically helping in the allergic reactions of the body, inflammatory reactions of the body, and it is acting as a vasodilator. That means it kind of helps in lowering the blood pressure down. Okay. And then we have the heparin. Heparin is the anticoagulant of the blood. Okay. Anticoagulant of the blood means it keeps your blood in the liquid form inside your body, so that you do not go ahead and have a solid blood, or it could freeze in your um, body. Okay. Let me just mark that here for you. We have the heparin, anticoagulant, and we have histamine, which is helping in lowering the BP. Okay. And we have the serotonin. Serotonin could also be secreted from the epithelial cells of the skin. Okay. Keep that in mind. And it's a happy hormone and it helps in the coagulation of the blood as well. Right? So that is one thing. And as I was talking about the macrophages and the leukocytes, they basically help in eliminating the different pathogens that are present. Okay. And next we have two more different type of cells. In the loose connective, before we start the dense connective, we have the adipose tissue. And adipose tissue is like really, really important because it kind of helps in storing the fat underneath our skin. So it is helping in acting as an insulator, and it helps in preventing our body heat from escaping, and it also is acting as a blubber. Okay, so whatever hits you doesn't immediately affect your internal organs because you have a lot of adipose tissue stored underneath your skin. But it can also lead to the obesity if you eat a lot of fat, so don't do that. Okay, be very active, be very healthy, and exercise at all times. Okay, so that is one thing. Okay, and next we have the dense connective tissue. Moving on to the dense connective tissue. Now see, dense connective tissue is the connective tissue which will have a lot of collagen, which will have a lot of elastic fibers, and they make the ground component. Ground component means that they are acting as the base and they are kind of holding everything together, and they are the solid structure which are holding the organs onto their places. Getting my point there, right? Also, in the loose connective tissue, as the name suggests, they're present loosely all around underneath the skin. Okay. And if they're present loosely, that means they're going to have a lot of intercellular spaces. Whereas the dense connective tissue, they do not have any kind of intercellular spaces. Rather, they're packed very, very densely, very, very densely. Okay. So they do not have any kind of space in between them. That is after like that being said, As I told you, they'll have a lot of collagen fiber in bundles actually, okay, and they'll have a lot of elastic tissues as well, and they will form the tendons and ligaments, okay. They will form the tendons which connect bone to muscles and ligaments which connect bone to bones. Do not get confused among these two, okay. I'll mention this right here. Muscles to bone and ligaments bone to bone, right? See, whenever we are talking about the dense connective tissue, the important thing that you should note right down here is that collagen fibers are white in color and elastic fibers are yellow in color. Okay, so the collagen fibers also are the ones which are made up of the collagen protein, and they are present in the abundance in body. They are present very, very abundantly, whereas the elastic fibers are made up of the elastin protein, and they are yellow in color, and they are very, very elastic in nature, and they're highly durable. Highly durable means they're going to go for they're going to be there for a longer period of time. They're going to stay for a longer period of time, whereas the collagen basically goes for, they're inelastic and they're less durable. Okay, so the dense connective tissue will have two important things. It will have the collagen, which is the white fibers, and they'll have the elastin, which is the yellow fiber. And this one right here is inelastic and less durable. That means it is going to be worn out very easily. And this one right here is elastic and more durable. Okay, that means it is going to be there for a longer period of time. Also, the collagen fibers right here, they are most abundant in the body, and these are less abundant in the body. Okay, in the body. Now, this may seem like a lot of information, but I promise you, if you revise it time and again, it'll be a very scoring chapter, which I have been saying, I think, countless times. Okay, so that is one thing about the dense connective tissue. Now, there's just one teensy bit information that you need to know about this. That dense connective tissue could be regular or could be irregular. Regular means that they are arranged parallel to each other, and irregular means that they are arranged in a haywired manner, or let's say haphazard manner. Okay, so I'm going to give you the diagram, not diagram per se, I'm going to give you the actual slides for both of these so that you can understand the proper difference between both, okay, the regular and the irregular. So moving to this, first of all, and there we go. Okay, we'll use the previous slide again. There we go. And here we are. So, right, we are talking about the dense connective tissue, which is of two types, which is the regular and the irregular. Now, what do you see right here? If you look at this pattern closely, it is like this. Okay, these are arranged like this with each other, right? Like this. Whereas the irregular is somewhat is attached like this, or this, or this, or this, or this sometimes. Okay, so the major thing is regular is attached or arranged in a parallel manner, irregular is arranged in a haywired manner. So that is one thing that you need to know. Apart from that, the regular will have the collagen and the elastic fibers, and the irregular will also have the collagen and the elastic fibers. The only difference is that they're going to present in a haywired manner in the irregular, and they're present in the layer of skin, whereas the regular basically are present in the tendons and the ligaments. Okay, so that is a vital information right there that you need to revise. Apart from that, we have the next one, which basically is called as the fluid connective tissue, my friends. And fluid connective tissue is the one which we call as the blood. Okay, now answer me one thing. Do you think that blood is just like the fluid which is flowing through the body, or does it have any function, or does it carry anything around? What is the actual function of the blood? And according to the function, we'll do the composition of the blood as well, just a teensy bit. So I'll count to five, and in the meanwhile, you can answer my question, okay? And after that, we'll go ahead and dive into the topic, and you can see if your answer is correct or not, okay? Starting from now. Make it quick, and your time ends now. Right? I really hope that you have answered your question, like answered my question. Anyway, so moving with the blood or the fluid connective tissue, this is also called as the blood vascular tissue. Okay, so we have like different names for it. Blood and lymph. See, we'll go by the keywords first, and then I'll tell you the different names, and then we'll go through the compositions. So the fluid connective tissue links all the different parts of the body. By links, it means since the blood is flowing through the entire body through different veins and arteries, it is actually connecting all the parts of the body indirectly. Okay, because it is carrying out all the digested food materials, it is carrying out the oxygen, it is carrying the carbon dioxide, different vitamins and nutrients, and the waste products as well, which it takes to the kidney to filter it out. Okay, and it maintains the continuity in the body. By continuity in the body, that basically means that it is connecting the entire body. Okay, and it includes the blood and the lymph. The fluid connective tissue contains the blood and the lymph. Lymph is usually the part of the blood which we can count in or out separately. That is completely up to us. Okay, make it however you want to revise it, easily or properly. So going with the blood, first of all, we have about 5 to 6 liters of blood in the human body. That's huge, like huge. You're getting my point there. So 5 to 6 liters of blood makes total of 8% body weight. Okay, so let's say 8% of your body weight is just blood. So we're not fat, we just have a lot of blood, right? Anyway, so our blood, the human blood, is basically red colored. Although it will be cool having a yellow blood, no, it wouldn't be boring. Anyway, so our blood has the red color because of the hemoglobin and the red blood cells which are present in the blood, which are responsible for carrying the oxygen, about which we'll be studying further. Okay, so we have different components in the blood. We have the plasma and we have the cellular components. Blood, we have the plasma, and we have the cellular components. Now, interesting thing right here is that plasma is basically the yellow colored fluid which is present, and there's, I think, 95 to 99% plasma in the blood. Okay, then cellular components are the ones which we call as the RBC, that is the red blood cells. We have the WBC, that is the white blood cells, and we have the thrombocytes, or let's say platelets. Okay, which basically helps us, platelets, which basically help us in the either the blood coagulation or fighting with an infection, etc., etc., right? So what you're seeing right here in this particular diagram is the slide of the blood, and in the blood you can see that we have more number of RBCs than the WBCs, or more number of erythrocytes than the lymphocytes, right? Why do we have that? Because the RBCs are required to carry the oxygen, and there's a lot of requirement of oxygen in our blood, and less number of WBCs or the lymphocytes indicate that our body is healthy. We require the WBCs only if we have to fight an infection, and if we have only the required amount, that means our body is healthy and our body doesn't have any kind of any source of infection, right? So we'll do one thing. We'll discuss about the plasma. We'll discuss about the leukocytes. We'll discuss about the RBCs. Okay, and we'll discuss about a little about the blood platelets as well. Right. So moving forward to the plasma, basically, plasma will have a lot of proteins which are required in the blood for the sake of clotting and for the sake of different functions to be carried out by the blood, which we'll be discussing. Okay. So starting with the plasma proteins first. Plasma, it'll have the water, which we all know about, and it'll have the proteins. Okay, and out of these proteins we'll be discussing about three which are present. Okay, we have the globulin, we have the globulin first of all, which I'll be writing down here for you. We have the albumin, okay, and then we have the different kind of clotting proteins which are present. Albumin, we have the globulin, and we have the clotting proteins right here. Okay, now listen to me very, very carefully. Albumin and globulin and the clotting proteins all together help in making the different kind of transportations possible in the blood, like transportation of all the digested food materials, and they help in the making, or let's say they help in sustaining a lot of antibodies in the blood, sustaining as in keeping them alive and keeping them functional. Also, they help in the blood coagulation, like formation, like the stopping of blood from flowing after an injury and forming a scab. Okay, and they also help in the osmoregulation. Now, osmoregulation is a new word for you. Osmoregulation means controlling the amount of water and salt in one's body, right? And so their collective function is, what am I going to write here? They help in osmoregulation. Osmoregulation is what? Controlling the amount of salt in water in your body. Second, they help in sustaining antibodies, which help in fighting the infections, by the way. Apart from that, they help in clotting of blood, which is very, very important, right? And they help in transport of materials in the body, right? Materials or components or whatever it could be. It could be hormones, it could be different kind of chemicals, okay, which are sent into the body wherever they're required through the blood. Okay, that is one thing. Guys, do not sleep, wake up. Right. Now, see, apart from that, we basically have the cellular components, but your clotting proteins could be of different types, could be fibrinogen, as in which makes the fibers to form the scab. Okay, now we'll have the talk about the cellular components. Cellular components. As I was talking about the cellular components, we'll be talking about the RBC first of all. Okay, RBC are also called as the erythrocyte, which we just learned about in the previous slide. Okay, and these are the ones which are responsible for carrying the oxygen all around the body. Okay, important thing about RBC is that mature RBCs do not have any kind of nucleus whatsoever. How interesting is that? Now, if they do not have a nucleus, I might wonder, how are they functioning? That is because they are, see, that is they're functioning because they have all the proteins, all the important materials, all the important components already formed and stored inside themselves, which are required for their functioning. And since they do not have the nucleus and they have only a limited amount of proteins, they're left with a limited amount of yeah, see, they are basically without nucleus, do not have a nucleus, discoid, oval in shape, okay, carry oxygen around the body and body. But we have an exceptions. Okay, this particular feature is of the mammalian RBC. Okay, Mammalian RBC. What are mammals? You'll talk about that more in the next chapter, diversity in the living organisms. But we have an exception. And what is that exception? The camel RBC has nucleus. Has nucleus. Okay, that is one thing. Also, these RBCs are very, very flexible and these can pass through narrow capillaries, and that is why they are very successful in transporting the oxygen to the different parts of the body. Okay, that is one thing. And next we have is the WBC, which is also like really, really important part of a body. Without WBCs, we won't be able to fight any kind of pathogen or disease, okay, disease causing organisms, right? So WBCs are also called as the leukocytes, and they're called as, let's call them policemen of the body, okay, and they constitute the entire defense system. Now, these cells are nucleated, these cells are very active, and these cells have irregular shape. They have amoeboid shape. Okay, why? So they can squeeze through the smallest of the spaces and kill all the pathogens. Okay, apart from that, these cells are phagocytic. Phagocytic means they engulf the entire pathogen and kill it by eating it. Okay, now these leukocytes, they could be two different types. We have the granulocytes and we have the agranulocytes. Okay, I'll just brief it out just a bit because that is not in your NCRT syllabus, but it's a teensy bit important. Okay, so we have the granulocytes and we have the agranulocytes. Now, as the name suggests, granulocytes are the ones which have granules in their cytoplasm, and agranulocytes are the ones which do not have granules in their cytoplasm. What could be what could these granules be made up of possibly? These granules are nothing but the thickened cytoplasm or the frozen cytoplasm inside the fluid cytoplasm, right? Now, these granulocytes are also of three types. We have the neutrophils, we have acidophils, and we have the basophils. Okay. We name them on the basis of the dye or the stain which is used for them. Okay. So that they could be observed under a microscope. Now, apart from that, we have the agranulocytes, which basically are of two types. They are macrophages and monocytes. Macrophages and monocytes both basically are the kind of cells which are really, really big, and their function is to mop up all the unwanted material. Basically, let's say get rid of all the unwanted material in the body, right? And that is all about the WBCs that you need to know. Okay, then we have the blood platelets. Blood platelets are the ones which are like extremely, extremely important. Blood platelets. Blood platelets are also called as the thrombocytes, which we have already discussed. Now, see, they are the ones which are formed in the bone marrow. Okay, and they are formed in the bone marrow from a special type of cell, which is called as the megakaryocyte. Megakaryocyte. Okay. So this is the cell from which the platelets are formed inside what? Inside the bone marrow. Okay. Now, important thing is that these platelets are basically the fragment of the megakaryocyte cell. Okay. These are the broken parts of the megakaryocyte cells which are floating inside the entire body. Okay. Now, see, they contain the blood clotting factor, which is really important. Okay. And they kind of help in they help in clotting the blood during any injury, and they basically help in stopping the blood flow out of the body. Okay, so that is one thing about the blood, and that is what we basically discussed all the components. We basically discussed all the different kind of functions of all those components, which was extremely important. Okay, so that being said, we are going to move forward to the last type of tissue, which is called as the skeletal connective tissue. Skeletal connective tissue. Important thing about the skeletal connective tissue is that it basically is going to talk about the framework of the body, and framework of the body is formed by what? By the bones of the body. Okay, and we basically have two important or two main types of skeletal connective tissue. We have the cartilage and we have the bone. Okay, so we have two types. We have the cartilage and we have the bones. So cartilage is the kind of connective tissue, skeletal connective tissue, which is very, very primitive to the bone. Okay, let's say whenever we are in embryo and we are inside the mother's womb, our entire framework is made up of the cartilage, which then later on denses and solidifies and makes up the bones. Okay, apart from that, the cartilage is present in the lower organisms or the smaller organisms like the invertebrates which do not have the spinal cord. That kind of also suggests how cartilage is primitive to the bone. Okay, so it is primitive. Primitive means non-advanced or underdeveloped. Okay, primitive to bone. Now this statement right here means that it is less developed than the bone, or it is less advanced than the bone. Okay, so cartilage is basically the one which kind of is responsible for making the tip of the nose or the hair or the sorry this ear pinna. Okay, and cartilage is the kind of elastic tissue which helps in regaining. So if you push the tip of the nose, it is going to be bent onto the inside, and if you release it, it will just regain the shape, right? It won't just stay there. That is because we have a lot of cartilage tissues in it. Okay, and cartilage tissue is of three types, which is like really, really important. Okay, so we have the hyaline cartilage, we have fibrous cartilage, and we have the elastic cartilage. Hyaline, fibrous, and elastic cartilage. Okay, now important thing is hyaline cartilage is the one which is present in the larynx, which is the voice box. Okay, and it is present in the tracheal rings. Tracheal rings are the C-shaped rings which are present covering your windpipe or the trachea. This hyaline cartilage is very, very smooth, it is very transparent, and it has a glass like appearance. Okay, that being said, we can move next to the fibrous cartilage, which basically is the strongest cartilage which is present between any of the two bones. Okay, so it is present in the disc in between the disc of the spinal cord. Okay, spinal cord is not one continuous rod, it is basically made up of multiple different units, and in between those units we have the fibrous cartilage. Okay, then we have the elastic cartilage. Elastic cartilage is the one which I was talking about while I was talking about the nose tip and the pin of ear and the epiglottis in the mammals. Okay, in the 7th standard you must have learned about the flap which is covering the windpipe, which enables the prevention of food particles into the into the windpipe. Okay, that is the epiglottis. So I'm going to write the key terms and the examples actually wherever these are present. So the hyaline cartilage is present between the larynx and the tracheal rings. Larynx, remember, is the voice box, and tracheal rings are the ones which are present onto the windpipe, okay, to strengthen it. And then fibrous is present between two units of the spinal cord, you can call it, or disc of the spinal cord, you can call it. That is up to you. Okay, and then elastic one is present where? Elastic one is present onto the tip of the nose and ear pinna, nose tip, and the epiglottis. Epiglottis. Okay, that is one thing about the entire cartilage. And then we have one more important thing. The cartilage is made up of these cells which are called as the chondrocytes. Okay, chondrocytes. So the cells which make up the cartilage are called as the chondrocytes. Chondrocytes. Okay, what are these? These are the cells which make up all types of cartilage. Now, that being said, we'll move forward to what? Bones. Everybody knows what bones are, right? Everybody is aware of what bones are. Bones are the strongest things which are strongest thing which are present in your body, and these are the ones which are responsible for making the framework of the body, right? They basically are the ones which are responsible for forming the entire body, and then onto which the different organs and muscles are put or latched on, and then make up the entire human being, or different kind of organisms are made in this particular way itself, right? Now, see, the important thing is that these bones are of multiple types. We have the spongy bone, we have the compact bone, we have the cartilage bone, we have the investing bone, we have the sesamoid bone. Okay, so I'll just narrow these down for you. Apart from that, I'll give you the review of different kind of bone cells which are present. Okay, first of all, let's discuss about the bone cells. We have bone cells making up entire bone. Okay, we have like three types of the bone cells. Okay, we have the osteocytes, osteoblast, and osteoclast. Now, important point which you be noting right down here is that osteocytes maintain the bone. When I say maintain the bone, that means they basically are looking if the bone is having proper blood supply, or if the bone requires more calcium, or if the bone is being too, or if bone is growing properly or not. Okay, or if it has grown too much, and the body needs to grow as well. And then osteoblasts are the ones which make the bone by calcium deposition. How do osteoblasts like take the calcium, or where the osteoblasts take the calcium? They take the calcium from the blood. Then we have the osteoclast, which degrade or break the bone and release the calcium into the blood again. Okay, why do we have this taking of oxygen and then taking of calcium and removing of calcium? Why? Because we need to maintain the proper calcium level in the blood in order to have the proper clotting in case of any injury. Okay, now that being said, we'll discuss about how bones are getting the blood supply. The bones, they have a canal system which we call as the Haversian system. Let's just go with the canal system or the osteon. So the bones have osteon, which is like the canal system to have proper blood flow through them. Okay, now we'll do the two most important bone types. We'll do the types of bones, which basically are of two important types. Okay, we'll leave the rest because that is not important. Moreover, you'll be learning about those in the 11th standard. So we have the spongy bone and we have the compact bone. Okay, important thing about the spongy and the compact bone is the spongy bones are the ones which are present in the limbs of a human being. For example, the hands, okay, hands and the legs, and they are spongy. Why? Because they have the bone marrow, which is responsible for making a lot of red BCs or the red blood cells. Okay, and we have the compact bones are the ones which basically are yellowish in color, and they store a lot of fat. Okay, and they are present onto the central cavity of the body, or like the central part of the body. So spongy have red bone marrow, produce RBC. Whereas the compact ones, they have yellow bone marrow. Yes, we have two type of bone marrows. How interesting is that, right? So have yellow bone marrow, which stores fat molecules. Okay, and that covers your entire bones. Okay, that is all, and thank you so much from learning from askIITians, and I'm really happy you guys are learning a lot. So that'll be all for today, and I'll see you in the next session. So stay tuned in. Bye.